This weekend, I read your literacy letters, and thinking back to the plagiarism competency that we took, along with the literacy letters that I was reading this weekend, we have a gap in our learning and how we can explain our thinking using evidence. So for example, it's that second paragraph in our literacy letters where we are explaining our own thinking that is causing us some problems and some confusion. So today we're going to use sentence frames that are going to help us write using academic language and also allow us to use evidence to support our statements. Your half sheet has exactly what's on these two charts. These are called sentence starters or sentence frames. I'd like you kids right now to take a minute and glue this into your journals so that we do not lose it and that we always have it as a reference tool for our literacy letters.
Like on the front of the
This weekend, I was at the end of my book, and I started to mark, using Post-its, some of my aha moments. So, for example, in this part, I'm like, why did the mafia boss, DeZorio, kill the assassin? Like, it didn't make sense to me. Why would a mafia boss kill his own assassin who does all the killing for him? And let me show you, kids, how I would use the sentence frames myself in a literacy letter. I don't want to give away who the killer is in this book because some of you kids might actually read this. Dear Miss Anderson, I'm still reading Don't Blink by James Patterson and Howard Ruffin. I finally finished the book and was surprised to find out that blank was the mastermind behind all of the killings. I never thought that guy or that woman was capable of doing all of that. The end of the book was a roller coaster ride, which is characteristic of most James Patterson's novels. So now I'm on my second paragraph, and I need to capture one of my aha moments. And one of my aha moments, my big ones, was this Doug character, okay? So looking at my sentence frames, I want to use this to capture my own thinking. So I originally believed that Doug was after Nick to try to murder him. I thought that Doug was working for the mafia. Boy, was I wrong. Okay? So, the evidence, here comes a sentence frame, shows that Doug was not mafia, but rather FBI. The reason that I know that is because James Patterson says at the end of that chapter, this is Nick talking, I thought he'd wanted to kill me, only now here he was, saving my life. He wasn't with the mafia, he was against them. It was as clear as the three letters emblazoned, meaning giant, like big, bright, emblazoned on his jacket, FBI. Huh. So, but rather FBI. So how did I know that? What told me that he was FBI? The last part of the chapter, right? So can you kids see a sentence frame on your list or on the chart that would work for me to explain how I know that Doug is FBI? Using one of the sentence frames.
I reached this conclusion by...
Excellent. I reached this conclusion by reading the end of the chapter where Doug saves Nick's life. I want you kids to follow along as I read it out loud. Okay, please don't write on this because we're going to reuse them. All right, so school suicide surge. What does surge mean, first of all? There's a surge. There's a climb. There's an increase. Okay? I want you kids at your tables, you can work collectively in partnerships or as an entire table in your notebooks to write a minimum of 4 sentences using a minimum of 1 sentence frame. that captures some aha moment from somebody at your table. So remember, it's not just your opinion, it's why you have this opinion.
Of who and why?
Perfect.
Why teenagers are being bullied?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Or why their other peers? No. Why students? Why?
What do you guys think? Why students are bullying? Why their peers are bullying? What do you think?
Why? Yeah. Why peers?
Why peers?
I would like to point out that there's a lot of teens committing suicide because of discrimination towards their sexual orientation.
Evidence shows that, what's the word? Means it rose. So, the suicide, it went higher.
Okay, so evidence shows
That. Evidence shows that. I think it's schools officials nationwide are beginning to reevaluate their methods of dealing with bullying.
Sorry, you want to say that in a different way?
we can, okay. Evidence shows that schools nationwide
Are beginning to reevaluate their methods of dealing with bullying.
Using more academic language, supporting your opinions, not just stating the simple fact, but going deeper and using your text, actually using the book to support your thinking. So I want to hear back from you kids on how did it feel to use sentence frames? So would anybody like to share out how they felt using a sentence frame?
It forced me to do work.
It forced you to work more. I like that. Good. That's what I want to hear. Anybody else want to share how they felt using sentence frames?
Kind of academic and much harder to use because I used to just go quickly to the subject and just write anything I felt and stuff. But now I have to explain it and make it more thorough.
So you found yourself using a different vocabulary that was actually more academic. Having this now in your notebook, and we'll keep the charts up, do you think that it's going to start to become a habit? Something that you'll include more regularly? That's what I want to see.